to another edition of Lovin Sheila Shorts. I was inspired, I was binge watching Love is Blind, and as I looked at the process of these folks getting to know each other, and I contemplated, is love blind, and the different aspects of relationships, and I kind of was just getting some perspective. And while I was getting some perspective, I became introspective, and I wanted to share some things that I was thinking about during this process. Over the last few years of this journey, we have been doing some work on ourselves. We've reconnected, tuned in, determined who we are, protected our peace, returned to boundaries. So we've done all these things over the last couple of years. And I believe it's a bit of a cautionary tale, because we can do all this work and sometimes end up in the wrong place, or the place that we did not expect to be in. I mentioned in a previous episode, the situationship is, in my opinion, the worst relationship that you can be in, because it offers so much confusion without clarity. And even though that confusion is our clarity, sometimes we spend too much time there trying to figure it out. But as I pondered and I went a little more introspective about relationships, I thought to myself that I've entered into a situationship with myself. But as I look at some of the stances that I've taken and some of the positions I've had, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in a situationship with myself. A little stagnant, a little confused, not full of clarity, but standing on the different things that I've learned and trying to apply them. But again, not having everything, not quite understanding everything and where we are right now. The classic question, what are we doing? I can sit here and say, I've asked myself, what are we doing? And so I want to share a few things with you to help us not enter into a situationship, to have us have some clarity with ourselves. I've always said the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. And so we have to make sure that's a good relationship. Yes, we know our worth. Yes, we know our value. We love ourselves. We know who we are. But we want to make sure that we're doing the right things and that we have direction and we're not confused and we have clarity on where we're going and what we're doing. It's important to know you, to know what you want, to be able to express yourself clearly, to express your wants and your needs, and to do the things that align with your wants and needs. And in the process, you fall in love with yourself again, or for some of us, for the first time. We take the time to see the great things in us, and then we take the time to see the things that we need to work on. I was talking to a friend this week, and I shared with her some of my thoughts, and she said, oh, so you're sometimey. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm sometimey. Because sometimes I want to be bothered, and sometimes I don't want to be bothered. So I guess it is what it is. And that's something that I have to work on. So that's an area for improvement. I love me and I love the way I move for the most part, but there's some areas that I need to work on. And I think there are areas that we all need to work on. So in the process of falling in love with ourselves and having a good relationship with ourselves, we have to have some awareness of the positive and the not so positive things about it. Furthermore, sometimes it becomes difficult for us to factor in others because we become consumed with what we want and making sure that we get what we want. So in the process of falling in love with ourselves, we have to make sure that we include others, or we're open to others' ideas and their wants and their needs. And so that's where compromise comes in. And sometimes we've designed the world we want and created the life we want, that sometimes it's difficult to let other people in, and you find yourself alone, or you find yourself lonely, and you're willing to accept that, because in that world you get exactly what you want and you get to do exactly what you want to do. For me, I found a place where I was content and I was pleased with my life and I liked the way things were going, and I knew from there it was only up from there. And so anyone who came into my life would have to add exponentially to the quality of my life. And that's where it became a little tricky. I developed my rules of engagement, where I said, this is how I'm going to do this. Before I make any commitments, I'm going to take my time and take several months to get to know a person and see them through different situations and how they behave and how I behave, and and how we get along and how we compromise and how we deal with conflict and all those things. And these ideas or these rules of engagement came from me allowing people in my life who were not worthy and who should not have been given the opportunities they were given. So I felt like I had to come up with a game plan, how I work and how you could be a part of my life. It was a way of protecting myself from imposters. So there was no more Speedy Gonzalez for me. I'm relaxing, I'm taking my time, I'm being mindful, I'm being sure-footed, I'm being circumspect, I'm being discerning, I'm being, you name it, that's me. Every time someone came into my life, I found a reason why they were not satisfactory or why this could not or would not work or why I needed more time to figure it out. Because I was in a situationship already. I was in a situationship with myself, not really knowing what I wanted or what it looked like, and constantly kind of moving the bar and demanding more. Now I'm aware of this and I have to address it. And I have to examine me and the way that I move and I have been moving. I had so many parameters and boundaries set up that I set myself up to be alone, and I was happy with it. I was satisfied. I was content. I could do what I wanted to do. I was free, which I absolutely believe in embracing your freedom. But I'm going somewhere different with this today. I set myself up to be alone, and that was my safe place. I had set up my boundaries and set up my life vertical, and be doing that allowed walls to go up, which were serving to protect me. And what I neglected to do is set up my life horizontally, to build it out. All I did was set up the walls of protection. And so now I realize that I need to set it up horizontally as well, and fill in those gaps and fill in the things that I wasn't clear on. After that wall, I had to make space for more within those walls. I had only made space for myself. The specifications were missing. And someone even told me that a couple months ago. Someone told me, you don't know what it looks like. And I received it, but I hadn't really drilled into it too much because I was so busy building the wall, because I had to stay in protect mode. When the things that would begin to fill in the walls came, I wouldn't know. When good came, I didn't know what it looks like. When Mr. Right would come, I wouldn't know what it looked like because I hadn't figured out exactly what I need and what those specifications were. And so that's what I mean by saying I built vertically, but now I have to build horizontally. I have to fill in the empty spaces. I have to make space for what I want in my life, but also understand what do I want in my life. And that's what I'm trying to say to you all, is make sure that we're not only just exercising our boundaries and making sure we adhere to our boundaries, but make sure that we're putting space in there for the things that need to get through, for the things that are going to enhance our life and are going to be additions to our life. Make sure we're not just putting a wall up and not allowing anything in. Make sure that you're making room for things that are positive to come into your life. Because I had no specifications. I've even dated someone, I said, we have to go through the process. And I remember him saying, what's the process? And I gave some information, which wasn't very much. And I realized there's so much more. If I have a process, if I'm going through something, at least understand it. At least have some specifications. What are you looking for? What do you want? What should it look like? What do you need in this situation or in this relationship? We should have an idea of what it looks like, so we know what good is when it comes. In the Bible, God gave specifications for the house that he would dwell in. And likewise, for the house that love will dwell in, we need some specification and we need to make room for it. We can't just have a wall and nothing more. We have to have a full dwelling place for that relationship, for that love, for that heart, so we can care for it and give it shelter. We need to identify our specific needs, what the relationship requires, what the requirements are that open the door for the relationship. We don't identify these things. We'll forever dwell in our situationship with ourselves. And ultimately, I don't think that's what we're searching for. We're searching to be loved and to give love. And so in order to do so, you have to open up. And you do want to do it in a safe way, in a safe place. But we have to identify what feels safe to us so we know what it is when it arrives. Situationships are hard to get out of. And so even with the one you have with yourself, you get comfortable in that situation. It's reliable. You can count on it. But to get to the next level, we have to get beyond that surface, beyond the superficial, and we have to have some depth. And that depth is us understanding what we really need from a partner, from someone that we want to be close to us, and also what we are able to give. We can get out of this situationship. It's so doable. We just have to put actions to our words and to our thoughts. How do we avoid the wall with no entrance, with no door? We need a strong sense of discernment to recognize those who do mean us good, those who will be good for us and who will be safe. Trust your gut. We know safe people, safe places, safe behavior. So we know the difference between infatuation and intention. I have been dazzled by infatuation. It made me feel beautiful and adored, but it was superficial. It was on the surface. It went no further. It has no legs. Infatuation has no legs, whereas intention has legs. Intention goes somewhere. It has purpose. And I was talking to someone this week and just had a bit of epiphany. I was like, this really does hit differently. Intention versus just infatuation. Recently, I've been taken by infatuation, and at the time, I wasn't aware of it. I just kind of rode the wave, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm having a great time and feel happy and all that kind of stuff. But it had no legs. It went nowhere. And so I know what that is. I've had firsthand experience with infatuation, and now I can discern the difference between someone who's infatuated with you and someone who has intention for you. And so that's what I think we need to do, is be discerning of that. It's important for us to have boundaries and to protect ourselves physically and emotionally. But it's also important for us to recognize when something authentic comes into your life. Again, how? How is the question. Something authentic comes, it gives, it meets a need, it meets you where you are. It's not seeking to just take from you. It's reciprocal. And that person would see all of you, not just the part of you that is beneficial for them or what they want from you, but all of you. Your needs, your wants, your sacrifices that you're making, your career goals, and they want to contribute in any way that they can. They want to uplift you and see you win. They want what's best for you, even sometimes when it's not best for them, because they care about you. Considerate and collaborative, meaning they consider your feelings. They consider how things affect you. They consider you in rooms where you are not, and they collaborate with you when things are not quite right. They collaborate with you to find ways to make them right for both of you. They help you to build win-win situations. They communicate to get a deeper understanding. They want to understand the why, the motivation. They go beyond the surface to get a real understanding. They appreciate your concerns. They don't sweep them under the rug, and they address your concern. They are willing to come up with plans of action to address them, to lessen and to minimize this as a concern, as a roadblock. Bring enhancements. You're better together. As I mentioned before, anything that comes into my life has to be an addition. If it comes and it's a subtraction to the quality of your life, then I think you need to reconsider. And also, not only are they considerate of you when you're not around, they choose you. We both recognize there's a choice to be made. This is a free world. We have free will. And any person that really wants you is going to choose you. They're going to choose you over other women. You're going to choose them over other men. You recognize there might be richer, there might be more attractive, sexier suitors out there, but you choose this person and you are satisfied with them and you're willing to do life with them. They're inclusive. They include you in their thoughts and their plans moving forward. They make room for you in their life. It's very important that people make room for you, that they find a place for you. That's why I said I was in a situationship with myself, because I had no place for anybody. No one at my house, no one in my space, no one at my hiking facility or my hiking place. That was all mine. It's still mine, you know, to a degree. When someone comes into your life that's authentic, they'll make space for you. And like I said, it's reciprocal, and you'll make space for them. So as I thought about trying to get out of this situationship that I felt like I was in with myself, loving myself and not having any room for anyone else, I was just thinking, what's it going to take? And so I had spoken to my therapist earlier this week, and I said, I got to build this thing out. I've built it vertically. I'm going to build it the rest of the way horizontally, and I'm going to fill in the blanks, and I'm going to get a good understanding. So when I'm asked what's the process, I know the process. What are you looking for? I know what I'm looking for. I know what it looks like. And so that's what I encourage us all to do. Go and get you some specifications. What is the core need that you have? What are your core sensibilities? What is a requirement for you to feel safe, for you to feel happy, for you to feel seen? And make sure you know what that is. So when it comes into your life, you're aware and you won't run it off. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. That's what I'm going to encourage myself to do. And I hope this helped you. Just want to take a little time to be a little introspective and share some of my thoughts on relationships and openness in relationships. Hope it helped you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I'll see you on the next Lovin Sheila. Bye for now. Lovin Sheila. Bye for now.